thank you all for coming. Let me turn your mic on. This is the most statistically unbalanced panel I've ever done in my life in terms of number of Eisner Awards won this year versus number of attendees. I think we have about 5 attendees per Eisner Award that Sonny won last night. Which means you all have better taste than the other 150,000 people wandering around this building. So thank you very much. Given that you obviously tried so hard to get here, I'm going to assume you know something about Sonny, but I suspect you don't know too much about him. I had the pleasure of meeting Sonny years ago when he was doing, was My Faith in Frankie your first American assignment?
Yes, the first DC video. Well, I did one pager with Marvel Comics, just one illustration of Iron Man.
Okay.
That was it until My Faith in Frankie.
So, the business has changed enormously in the time I've been in it. I mean, we had the only international artists we had in comics when I came into the field was one Spanish studio that was working for Warren and a Philippine studio that was doing a lot of work for DC. And in those days, the system was basically, you found some foreign country where the people were willing to work really cheap, and you paid them a fraction of the American rates. But the artists thought they were screwing the Americans enormously because it was so much more they can earn in their own country, and kind of, in a very entirely sick way, worked in that fashion. The world's gotten a lot smaller, but I don't think we've ever quite seen anything like what's happened with you. The art of Charlie Chan Hock Chye is kind of a unique event in that you published in a very unusual fashion in Singapore. I'd like you to tell that story. And then it comes over here to America, and it's really been treated in many ways as though it was an American publication here. And certainly the Eisner Awards that you copped last night, I'm pretty sure we've never had an Eisner Award winner for something like Best Writer Artist whose work was primarily published somewhere else and then brought over here. Mobius and other wonderful talents like that never scored that award. So congratulations on breaking every possible precedent.
Thank you.
Let's tell the gang a little bit about your art, because it's an unusual one. I'd love you to share with them the story of your education, your teacher who maybe connected you to the world of comics first in the process. How the hell did you go through this and get here? It's weird.
Well, my first paid comic was with a Singapore newspaper called The Newspaper. It's a daily tabloid. I liked comics for a long time, but I was back at holiday in school. I was studying philosophy at Cambridge at the time. And I was on holiday in Singapore, and I just decided to draw a comic strip. And I drew a comic strip, maybe 12 samples of it, and I sent it into the paper. And at the time, they were looking for local creators, so they decided to publish it as a daily comic strip for about a year.
Oh, cool.
And I think that experience, just making comics and getting paid for it, even though it wasn't a lot of money at the time, and having people read those comics, it just got so engaging for me that I was pretty sure at that point that I wanted to do something that was at least art related. If I could do comics, that would be amazing.
Well, what was the other path? I mean, Cambridge, what do you do with a Cambridge philosophy degree? Do you go off and think brilliant thoughts about how to make the world a better place? Well, we could use some. But
in the prospectus, college prospectus, they reassured us that you could do philosophy and get a job in banking. So,
Oh my God.
That would be when you major in philosophy, subhead green.
no, not really. It was just the idea that you could think analytically, you could write essays, you could do research. That could be a skill that could translate into other areas.
Britain must be a very different place than America. But that's cool. But you weren't British. So how the hell do you get to Cambridge University?
Well, Singapore was a former British colony, so we still have a lot of ties in our system to the UK.
Had any of your family gone to school over there?
Yeah, my sister went to Cambridge as well.
Wow.
She was doing economics. I chose a kind of a little less normal path. Yeah, less describable path.
Okay. So you've gone to Cambridge for philosophy. That gives you a wide view of the world, certainly. And in my generation of American comics, we had very few well-educated artists. There were only 2 or 3 of the guys who came through who had college educations at America's top colleges. And I don't think there was anyone who had gone to school with the kind of quality reputation that Cambridge has. I think that was getting better by your generational cohort. You're, I guess, about 15, 20 years younger than I am. In your early 40s now. So we started to have a couple of guys who got real education. But it was still pretty rare. Most of the artists were kids who had been drawing on their notebooks all the time, and as fast as they could get out of school, they got out of school and came up to Marvel or DC with their pages and said, you know, please, sir, may I draw comics for the rest of my life? So you've gotten this good education, and you've gotten a taste of art from this newspaper opportunity. But you're in Singapore. There's no comics business in Singapore, right?
Very little. Yeah.
What was there? So we're talking 25 years ago, 23 years ago. What was the world of comics in Singapore 23 years ago?
It's not that different from what it is now. There still are no dedicated publishers of comics. There's still no system that you can go to learn from. I think the difference between Singapore and, let's say, the US, Japan, and France is that you have a lot of publishers in those countries, a lot of infrastructure that's there. If you want to be a comic artist, you can sort of learn the ropes from mentors or people who have done it and then figure out how to become a professional artist. But in Singapore at the time, especially, I think we still say that we have to reinvent you at the time we want to make comics in Singapore. So trying to find out that path hasn't been created.
But even more so, that's before you had the Singapore Toy Game and Comics show. Did you have a comic shop in Singapore or two? That early?
Yeah, but by the 80s, I think there were quite a few shops, like comic shops in Singapore.
Okay, so you have at least some kind of support network going around. You're not perceived to be the only person crazy enough to be interested in American comics.
In fact, a group of fans actually started the first Singapore Comic Con in the 80s, and they actually invited Tom McFarlane, I believe, and Brian Boland, just before they became really famous. They were still kind of constantly really famous. And
that's cool.
They went all the way to Singapore to have the 2 conventions in the 80s.
It's an interesting mix of choices, too. Brian from England and Todd's a Canadian, but he was, I think, living in the U.S. already at that point. Maybe he was still Canadian. Maybe this was a British Empire comic convention. It just
I actually didn't attend those conventions. It's something I found out later. So, yeah.
So you've had this taste with the one newspaper. You're starting to want to draw seriously. You're in Singapore. Nobody from DC or Marvel or any American publisher can find Singapore on the map. We're Americans. We pay attention to any country that can't blow us up. Or didn't previously. I think that's a fair way of judging the American countries. We can find North Korea on the map now because they're threatening to kill us. But don't ask us to find. Oh, I don't know.
Albania.
Certainly. How many people can find Albania? So you're interested in this world away. Have you seen a lot of American comics at that point, or British? You've seen British comics, because as a former colony, I'm sure are they getting 2000 AD? Have you seen that?
Yeah, that's one of my primary influences. But maybe 14 or 15, I discovered Social Media magazine, and Alan Moore was doing comics. Well, he was kind of doing that, but they were released as monthly comics that were collected all the old stories, and the see Alan Moore. 7 BC was just starting out there, I think, at the time. So there were all these incredible British artists and writers doing 2000 AD, And that really kind of blew my mind that you could get a magazine that was 2 pages long and the 5 stories in there and there would be 5 different artists writing all these styles just in this slim magazine. And that kind of changed the way I saw comics a little bit, because I've been used to seeing comics that were all in one style.
Well, it also was black and white, so the art was very accessible to you as an artist, I guess, right? You were able to look at it and really assess the material in a different kind of way. I mean, the American comics at the time are in color, but mostly they're pretty crappy colors. They probably did more to hide the art than enhance it. Constructively hide it sometimes, but that's a whole other question. So you're sitting there and you're seeing 2000 AD, and you've had a taste of doing this, and we're way before the internet. We're way before, you're still in international reply coupons that you used to buy to send letters from country to country if you wanted to get mail back. A phone call from...
Well, not quite. By the time it was really 90, so we already had email and we had...
email letter?
Yeah, 1990... I was in Jewish in 93, 94.
Okay.
So by the time I was doing comics, we were 5 or 6.
Okay, so a little bit of modern technology is creeping.
Yeah. I mean, the first company I did, I had to fax back things when it was really urgent. So, But by a few years later, we had email.
Okay.
So it's a little bit...
So who do you email? How do you connect with the larger world of comics from Singapore?
I don't think I actually initially did. I mean, one of the problems was trying to figure out how to become a comic artist, how to do it. And I remember I printed out this flyer asking people to want to make comics if they wanted to be part of an anthology. And I pinned that, posted up in all the bookstores in Singapore. And I actually got quite a few responses, people writing and saying they wanted to do comics, but I had no idea how to get the money to do this. And so I kind of talked to my sister and said, anyone interested in publishing comics? Because she was an economist and banking, asking if she knew friends who would be interested in invest. And they asked her if no one wanted to do comics. But she did tell me to try coming to the US for art school instead. And that's what I ended up doing. I came to RISD for Honor School of Design to learn art, because I've been self-taught at the point. So I wanted to learn to paint, to draw better, to learn more about comics.
You didn't take any art courses at Cambridge?
No.
Just the serious stuff. Fascinating. So you come over to RISD. I mean, first of all, going to Cambridge took enormous courage. You were going thousands of miles away, but at least you were staying within the empire. And you were going to a school with an amazing international reputation. I can imagine you turning to your father. Your sister had already been there. Okay, that she came back alive. She's gotten a job out of it. That's a plausible case. Now you turn around to your parents and say, I want to go to America, and this thing called RISD, it's in Rhode Island. I suspect people have no more idea what the hell Rhode Island is in Singapore than people in Rhode Island have of what Singapore is. How did you sell that idea?
Looking back, it seems ridiculous, but at the time, my parents were really supportive of what I wanted to do.
Have they given up on being supportive now? They seem to be pretty happy the other night at the awards show.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken a while. When I first started out doing comics, they were always asking me what my next project was, when I was making enough money, all parents were
Right.
Maybe in the last 2 or 3 years, I think, my career has reached a point where it's starting to seem as if I'm getting somewhere. So I'm a little bit more relaxed about it now, but it's taken a long time to get there.
It's a good thing if they're getting relaxed. But that may just be their own aging. You get a little calmer.
Could be.
Maybe the Eisners will help. Maybe they'll stop asking now. So you talk them into you're going to RISD. How did you pick RISD?
So my sister also went to the US for school. She went to Harvard for Asian Studies.
Okay.
She brought back a bunch of art school brochures.
Huh.
And I applied for, I remember writing SBA, Parsons, RISD, and almost Cal Arts, but Cal Arts is a really long form to fill. And then just came up with I couldn't fill the whole form, so I stopped. And I think I got into the SBA, but as a kid, I never liked cities, I never liked crowds, so I thought New York would kind of be a hard place to live in. Could be wrong, you know. I
You never liked cities and you were living in Singapore?
Well, not a lot of choice. In Singapore, it's just what it is, a city state. But,
Yeah.
I wouldn't like going to the.
Is there any suburban corner of Singapore? I didn't get to explore that much the one time I was there.
There are, I mean, and that's where I would kind of like to go to. But in the main shopping areas where it's very crowded, I always feel like a claustrophobic.
Okay. Well,
So New York seemed like it would just be even worse version of that.
yeah.
At the time.
Without the air conditioning.
Yeah. So I chose Rhode Island specifically because it felt like it would be a smaller place and I could adapt to more easily.
Were you fooled by the name Rhode Island into thinking it was an island like Singapore?
No, but
Just checking.
But when I did get there, I remember I got to Rhode Island and I went to walk around downtown and Taylor Street, and I got a little bit depressed because it was a little bit too unurban, I think, at the time. I was, it's really cultural shopping.
Is it in Providence?
Providence, yeah.
Yeah, Providence is okay, but there's not a lot happening.
Yeah.
Yep, but it's a wonderful school. I mean, I do think it was a much better choice for you than SVA.
What do you say?
Well, SVA had really a golden decade when Will Eisner, Harvey Kurtzman, and Art Spiegelman were teaching there. That's from about 1970 to maybe the early 1980s. But by the time you were going there, it was not an all-star teaching environment. And SVA is an unusual school in America because it's a school that is run as a business. It's a for-profit institution, which very few colleges are in the U.S. And that may be a factor of why it is what it is too. RISD hasn't produced a lot of great comic book people, but Walt Simonson went through there well before you. Obviously, he's 20 years older. But it's regarded as just a much higher level art school on fine art, a high theory of art. So I suspect you got a better education there.
Well, and I think it's the data hospitality.
Yeah. So tell us about that, because I think that's a real turning point in his professional career.
Yeah, because up to the point, I never met anyone who was in the comic industry and couldn't figure out how to become a comic artist, but David was at the time teaching at UC, and he had done Batman Year One, Daredevil, and then moved on to doing Robert Blanket. So he kind of knew the whole industry inside out, both the mainstream comic stuff and the alternative comic stuff. So I took his class, I think, 3 times during my time at UC. Because you're really supposed to take it once, because you can only take, it's elective, you can only take once, but...
Did you deliberately fail?
No. So they knew that all of us will come back, so he would keep changing his course number code. So they took it again and again and again.
Cool. Yeah. I did that with Frank McCourt in high school. I kept taking his class, so I understand exactly what you're talking about. And David was, I would suspect, a really great teacher.
Yeah, he would, I think that's kind of his reputation, that you get to explore your own style, your own approach to art and storytelling. So his course was never about trying to get us to draw or tell stories in some way. It's more about introducing us to a really wide range of comics and kind of figure out, let us figure out ourselves what we want to do, our own comics and storytelling.
Okay. So you're working on your stuff, you're building your thing, you've made this bridge to the American comics market in David, and that he knows how the system works. I know you did a variety of self-published, semi-self-published projects in Singapore, but I can't really date whether that's before or after My Faith in Frankie. Which happened first?
A little bit simultaneous, because for class in RISD, I'd done a comic called Lemon Cube Robot.
I remember that.
Which was a story of 2 street urchins living in a sort of future dystopia, mostly based in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And I've used that as a portfolio piece to get work from DC Building. Right? But I also applied for a Zebra grant through it and got the grant to publish a comic.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of simultaneous at the same time. So I was doing Faith in Frankie, I came to Singapore, and at the same time published.
Cool. The Zurich grants were Kevin Eastman or Peter Laird?
Peter Laird.
Peter Laird, I'm sorry. So just for any of you who don't know, Peter Laird, who's one of the co-creators of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, had made a fair amount of money from it and wanted to get back to the profession. And for many years, he doesn't do it anymore, but for many years he was giving these not enormous grants, but grants that were very significant for young cartoonists. Did that last a year, or was just one flat amount?
So flat amount to publish the comic.
Yeah, to bring something out and try your own thing, and that was a great opportunity. Yeah, you got to write the note, obviously, now to go full circle. So you hook up with Vertigo, and Shelley's told the story of getting a note from David saying, take a look at this guy's stuff. I think Karen got it first and then passed it on to Shelley Bond, who's editing there. My Faith and Frankie, for any of you who have not searched out of Sonny's stuff, is this just absolutely charming little mini-series about a girl with her sort of personal god, guardian angel, and how their life transpires together. You originally wanted to do all the art on it. It was a Mike Carey script that had already been developed at that point. Mike was still fairly early in his career. He wasn't the superstar that he became later, but he was established already at that point. They didn't let you do all the art?
Well, I want to go back a little bit because Shelley tells the story now that she sort of bought the portfolio and immediately put me on the project. But I think what really happened was that she saw the portfolio and thought like, we might do something interesting. So she sent me a script for a project and I didn't publish it. It's called Fables. And I did like a 2-page sample for it. I did it and I said, Willie was ready to do it. So I hired someone else to do it. And it was after a few months later, I think they saw my friend Frankie. It was a 4-issue mini-series that they thought,
you can't screw that up.
Can't screw that up. So they asked me to do both the pencil and that story. But when I sent the first issue, I got a call from Chye saying, maybe someone else can get it.
Ouch.
So yeah, that's how it happened. It was my
Okay, and that's Mark Hempel?
No.
Mark Hempel goes over and goes over your line work, and it is very charming. I suggest you check it out. And of course, in the alternate reality, his wonderful work on that would immediately led to a 5-year exclusive contract with DC, drawing all sorts of stuff, but it didn't quite work out that way. So clearly, and this is DC on my watch, so I have to take some of the responsibility. So we were clearly incredibly stupid for not signing you up. What did you go and do after that?
Well, there's actually a period of a few months after my trip with Frankie that I couldn't get any work. I didn't get any work. And I was wondering whether I had to find another job in the career for a while. But I kind of hung in there, and eventually, I believe I got some work from SDCC in Wonderland. I can't remember now. I think I might have turned down Top Shelf's surrogates to do that. So that's kind of a mistake because it became a movie with Bruce Willis in it. But my next big project was probably Wonderland with SLG.
Cool. So you're managing to make a living.
Badly.
The American dollar doesn't have any extra swing in Singapore, so it's not like it goes a little further, maybe. Okay, so that's helping even if there's gaps in it. It's also harder to look for the work from over there. I mean, the internet helps, but it's not the same as staring your editor in the face and saying, "Please, sir or ma'am, I need pages now."
But that's how I'll come to San Diego, because that's the only way that I could kind of meet editors and publishers.
Perseverance is a major part of breaking into the field and establishing a solid career. You go from that to, again, doing more self-publishing. You keep playing with Malinky Robot and the Secret Robot Factory and ideas of your own. You do some of that through Image at one point?
That's plenty later on, because after
later on?
I've done a few stories. I think, one of the things that helped me establish my sort of career here was the flight anthology that was edited by Kazuki Ishii.
Okay.
So that was, I mean, it turns out to be one of the most popular anthologies of the last 10 years, I think. So, and I think he had seen that many people about self-publishment that I've done, so he emailed me asking to do the story for them. I think that really raised my profile a little bit in the US. But I think also Chye met me from Frankie, and so when started DC Names, that short-lived attempt to publish DC comics for young female readers, right?
A little too early.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too hip overall.
Yeah.
But our hearts were in the right place. Shelley certainly was incredibly passionate about it.
So she asked me, Mike and Mark Heppels to do another story for that. And I think I kind of got pigeonholed a little bit at the point in time, because I done Frankie, Regifters, Wonderland, and they all featured female protagonists, right? Female characters. So I think my sense is that editors here for like that's what I was.
You draw pretty girls.
Not pretty girls, but at least my style was suitable for that. So I ended up doing Jane Austen adaptations for Marvel after that as well.
Did you want to do straight superhero stuff at that point? Were you sitting there saying, you know, what I want to do is Batman, and they're making me draw teenage girls?
Not quite. I mean, doing superheroes was something that felt like you'd be a feather in a cap that you had done Batman or Superman or some superhero, but I don't think I actually read enough superhero comics to really into it at the time. So
Okay.
I was kind of just hoping to do. I think my heroes at the time were more people like Chester Brown, Chris Warren, Dana Close.
Oh, cool.
So it's the more indie authentic stuff. So I always wanted to do something that I could write anymore that was in that day.
Okay. So I'm going to go very fast through Shadow Hero since Gene didn't show up. Hell with him. You had the opportunity to work with Gene. Was that his first big creator controlled project after American Born Chinese? I don't remember him doing anything in between. Maybe.
Oh, no, I think he was doing Boxes and Six at the same time.
Ah, that's right.
Which is why he wanted someone else to draw the art for it.
Okay. So he did Shadow Hero, another one, charming thing, and that's a step sideways into the superhero universe, but very much sideways. It's an unusual project. And somewhere around there you have the courage to start Charlie Chan.
Well, I mean, I think I kind of felt I was stuck in a rut. No, not a rut, but at least my career had kind of plateaued a little bit, because I've been doing a lot of comics for other writers. And like I said, I wanted to be more like the Carlos and Chris Ware. So I wanted to do comics like Bright Angel. And Charlie Chan for me was in a way I would say maybe one of the last shots I had in it, because I thought, you know, if this doesn't work out, this idea of this doesn't work out, I might have to reconsider my options a little bit.
Okay. So it's a project of incredible courage. I mean, I don't easily think of more than a handful of American projects that I'm leaping off a cliff quality. I think of building stories in a very different way, but with the same kind of level of impossibility. There's an intellectual level of courage in saying, I'm going to do a double task. I'm going to tell a longitudinal story of a man's life across a whole life as a cartoonist, and I'm going to explore, I don't know how many different styles, we'll come back to that. And I'm going to take the whole modern history of my country, which is complicated and intensely emotionally political already by those years in Singapore. And I'm going to sandwich these two things together and use parallel storytelling and fit all this into one book. Didn't anybody tell you you were jumping off a building without a parachute?
Not quite, because I couldn't quite explain it to anyone.
That's not a good thing when you're trying to sell a project.
I know. So I would, because you know, the book is about Singapore history told through a fictional comic history. And initially I had thought that it would involve like a whole generation of comic artists, like 10 different people involved in this narrative. So I thought the only way I could pull it off was to get other people to draw with me.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of talked to one of my friends who were comments and asked them if they were interested in it. And I explained it to them, and I could never explain it properly. So they would kind of look at me, kind of strange to me, and not quite get it.
And run in terror.
So not right in time, just kind of like, why do you do this instead? What ideas for what could you want to achieve?
Okay.
So, and so I think I actually shelved the idea for a few years because I couldn't quite figure out who would publish a book like that. There was no one in Singapore who, at the time I was talking to it, and there's no one I could find in the US who was interested in it.
How much had you done to that point in terms of any actual pages or chapters when you were trying to shop it? Or was you just pitching the idea?
It was just in my head, and I couldn't figure out where it was with there.
Okay.
Because I couldn't think of any publisher at the time would be interested.
So you got this unusual, will be fine, idea, possibly unsaleable. You're in a country with no comics publishing industry. You have not suddenly inherited $1 million that you want to splurge on being a comic book artist. If you did, I missed that part of the story. Okay. And you try to figure out how to do it, and you do it. You get a grant from the government to insult them.
It's kind of complicated because the initial grant we had was from one organization called the Media Development Authority. Okay. And they've given this publisher in Singapore a $150,000 grant to do 5 books, right? So 30K per book. And the publisher had approached his local creators to ask if he would be interested. And 30K was quite a money for a local comic publisher to offer it. So I think we kind of jumped on the chance, and I thought this would be the perfect chance to do this book that I've been thinking about, because it's very local and there was somebody involved in it. So I started doing the book in 2012, but the problem was that they wanted the book to be done within a year. And the book initially I thought could be 120 pages long. It could be involve essays and pictures as opposed to comics and more comics.
Okay.
So I thought it might be feasible in 12 months. But once I started doing it, I realized that it had to be a lot longer, and that I had to kind of replace essays with actual comics to make it readable. And that funding body, the NDA, couldn't understand it. They kept telling us, why don't you finish in a year? Like, why are you like slacking off? So they withdrew the grant for the book.
Wow.
They even tried to withdraw the grant from all of them that already been done, because there were 5 books involved. Wow. So, but publisher managed to persuade them to let me keep 120K and just take away that 20K. And that's when they applied for another grant from the National Arts Council. And that is a grant observation.
The one that was pulled back when they actually read it and said, this wasn't what we had in mind.
It's complicated, I think, also.
Well, I'm not going to try to ask you to explain Singapore's complicated politics here. What I would like you to explain, though, before we run out of time on the project, is which artist style you had Charlie work in at different times. Because I know as I looked through, I saw it and I said, this one's Eisner, this one feels Barks, this one feels Walt Kelly. Who am I missing or forgetting?
Frank Miller.
Okay.
Yeah, put a dark accents in there. Kazuka Eisner. Hamikers was the influence. Because Two Distant Tales and all the stories were part of it. Somewhere in the middle, I tried to mix Kurtzman, Kirby, and Tatsumi into a
new mix?
Yeah.
Cool.
There's some merging as well, Tintin, Tantan, and sometimes Kirby was called Tantan, this is Belgium. That might be it.
Okay. I'm going to jump just very fast to Dr. Fate and say that I had the pleasure of running into Sonny in Singapore when I went there to attend one of their conventions as a guest, and that reminded me of him. And when I had the opportunity to suggest an artist for Dr. Fate, I remembered his work and thought, you know, he'd be a wonderfully fresh approach. I didn't really know Sonny well. We'd shaken hands a couple of times, but I knew his work a bit. And the shadow hero stuff had sort of shown that he understood the superhero language it was an extraordinary experience working with him. The singular exception of the one moment when he kind of forgot that we drive on the correct side of the road here in America, not the lunatic British side of the road. If you look very carefully at the very first Dr. Fate story.
Really?
There's
Because I didn't sing with Ridiculous, and Chye didn't flip the panel. And I was very angry because once you flip the panel, the whole composition.
Exactly. Yeah. No, we didn't fix it for that reason. But if you look carefully, you can spot where the Belt Parkway is driving on the left side of the road in Brooklyn, which is not a good idea. But I've worked with an incredible range of artists in my career. I don't think I've ever worked with a smarter one. The back and forth dialogue on how to do things better at different times is just wonderful fun. And if this is the commercial announcement for you must buy, if you have not already, The Art of Charlie Chan Hock Chye if you've attended this panel. But you should also buy at least the first volume of Dr. Fate, The Blood Price. There's some wonderful work by Sonny. And some amazing, I call them paintings. I don't know if you consider them paintings, the cover pieces that you did for Dr. Fate. What technique did you use for that? You did those all on computer, right?
Yeah.
So what program do you use when you're doing it digitally? Is it Photoshop to start with?
Just Photoshop.
Check it out. It's some really awesome stuff. Since you guys were terrific in finding your way here to the Albanian section of the convention center, really ragging on Albania today. I suppose it's a nice enough country. I'm sorry, Albania. Anyone with questions, please, to the mic if you would. Nothing. Hear you?
I have a question about your use of humor in the book and kind of why you chose to use it at certain times and why you think it's kind of a powerful tool to get the message you want to across.
Could I ask, like, which parts of humor you
Well, there's even like a few moments like on that page, like the Singapore Inks, where the boss is just kind of hilarious, and obviously he's serving as a representation of a real person, but it's silly, you know. So I'm just kind of wondering why you think that silliness adds something.
It's kind of tough to answer because I don't think I think about adding humor in a conscious way. It feels natural to me because I grew up reading a lot of comic strips like Peanuts, comic pops, so humor in comics seems to me very much part of its language. So I didn't think it's something that you added, but it feels like it's natural to the medium to me.
Next question. We have a next question. If not, I will make up the next question. What's next? I mean, you should be able to do almost anything you want at this moment in your career. You demonstrated your ability to do a commercial graphic novel that any rational marketing person would say should not be commercial, and to have it work. You've won much of the top awards available in the field. You are still a young man. You have a tremendous career ahead of you, and you've been changing and exploring your style project to project. One would hope that there's a line at the door saying, you know, we're willing to look at whatever you want to do right now. It's kind of that magic moment that exists. What do you want to do next?
I'm telling people I want to do a book on capitalism. It's really a big subject. But it's a lot of research. I'm maybe 3 months into the research and it's kind of drowning in books. So I'm not sure how long it's
Adam Smith, Karl Marx.
I'm not doing so much. Like, I'm kind of more contemporary stuff, you know, various that Greek Ministry of Finance, the guy. Because here I'm kind of reading around rather than the actual book is really thick and yeah, but I'm also talking to publishers. Like, you're writing that people, I think it's Chye, are interested in my next book. So I'm talking to people like IDW, Dark Horse, something.
Not to the traditional book publishers? I mean, you've just had an experience with Pantheon, which is considered probably the most prestigious house we've got that does graphic novels. They very rarely do an original. I mean, I think part of why they were able to do Charlie is because it already existed and they were picking it up from Singapore. But I would think all those doors are open to you too.
Well, I mean, part of the problem is that the next project isn't quite concrete yet. It's kind of very big and it's tone, it's age range, so I'm not sure which publishing that's dedicated.
Okay, that's always a fair question. And you're just gonna think big thoughts in the meantime? Anything you're gonna write or draw while you're putting this big project together?
I'm talking to DC on several things, and also IDW.
Cool. And that's IDW less than DC, but maybe DC can make up for the mistake on my watch of not signing you up forever and squeeze a little bit more out of you in the process. Hopefully make them pay well for the process. They should pay an extra, you made a mistake before fee. Tell them I said so. I don't think they listen to me anyway. Last chance for a question from the audience. This guy doesn't get here very often. You know, it's not like he shows up at every convention on Thursday.
What would you like to see other artists take away from you? How would you like them to be inspired by you,
Great
etc.?
question.
Can you repeat it?
Yes.
For anyone who didn't hear the question, what would you like other artists to take away from your work and your experience? What would you like them to be inspired by you?
I would think that many people will be in Singapore, like people who are making comics in Singapore, because when I was growing up, I remember I would see books by local artists on the shelves of the bookstores, and that in itself would be inspiring for me, because the idea that someone from Singapore could make comics and get it published was like a new idea, right? So I hope that whatever success Chye has might inspire other people to make comics in Singapore and then see that it's possible to figure out this career, this path.
I mean, it's a tremendous step towards making the world a little bit smaller. It's also a tremendous step towards bringing more intellectually challenging material into comics in America. I mean, we've had some. If you look at Fun Home and its success, Allison is certainly enormously literary. There's layer on layer on stuff. But there are not very many American creators, writers, cartoonists, or however you want to layer it, that are reaching as deeply into any part of history or philosophy. And you're setting a great example of that. The most important example is just the sheer raw courage of doing all of this, which is, I'm not sure whether it was being brave or being foolish or both, but that's a great example to the profession process. Leap off the tall building and manage to land on your feet and get some of the best awards available in the field for it. Hopefully the book is selling very well and you're also getting giant bags of money from Pantheon. Reasonably giant bags of money. Thank you all for coming here. We got a question?
Go for it.
Take it.
It might be a little bit kind of big and vague, but I was wondering, what do you think about the British colonial period of Singapore?
Great question.
How much time do we have?
In a 2-minute statement.
I would say it's a mixed bag. You know, there are things which are sounds pretty general, but some good things about it, some bad things. We in Singapore we never quite suffered as badly as a lot of other colonies for some reason. I think possibly because they found in Lee Kuan Yew a leader and a party that they could relate to, that could kind of carry their legacy in the way they wanted to. So they never had to crack down as hard on us as they did in other countries. So I think the power sort of handing over was relatively smooth in Singapore's case.
Well, it seems the British, they would create puppet regimes that didn't really need a puppet master after.
We can have a very long conversation about
I mean, it's kind of, you could just cut the strings and it'd stand up on its own.
Having been to Singapore and observing it just briefly as an American, I do have to say my perception was it was a unique blend of sort of Chinese cultural energy and work ethic and the British polite and queuing behavior kind of scrunched together in some strange fashion. And I think that part of the British culture seems to have penetrated more in Singapore than in many of the former British colonies.
And even he was also very British, he had this. What's going on?
Well done.
Oh, okay. Right. So I mean, so the PhD had most of the people who founded PhD were educated in Britain as well. So there's PhD in the.
Gandhi was educated in Britain, though, too, wasn't he? That didn't quite come out the same way.
No, he went through a different medical process.
Yeah, I think that's a safe one. Anybody else? We're told we can squeeze one more question in. Thank you very much, gang. And Dr. Fade, thank you so much for Charlie Chan. And thank you, to the point that was raised, for being an inspiration, I think, to artists across the world, because we have historically had a handful of countries that had rich comics traditions, and many, many countries where there have been only a few artists struggling to create comics. I had the pleasure of working with one of the Turkish artists for a while, who, you know, explained to me about the small group they had there. They went through a lot. It's a bigger country, but they went through the same issues of trying to do a little self-publishing very unsuccessfully, finally connecting to the U.S. Your success is certainly going to be inspirational to artists across the world. Stay on the podium and tell people about it. Don't be embarrassed. Thank you all.